Welcome to Series 14, and we think it's about number 15. We're looking at God's agreement with Noah. And if we read the scriptures from Genesis chapter 9 and verse 1, it says this: Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall upon all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of the air, upon every creature that moves along the ground, and upon all of the fish of the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, now I give you everything. But you must not eat meat that still has the lifeblood in it. And your lifeblood I will surely demand an accounting. I will demand an accounting for every animal. From each man, too, I will demand an accounting for the life of his fellow man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of God, he has made man. As for you, be fruitful and increase in number. Multiply on the earth and increase upon it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons who were with him, I now establish my covenant with you and your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth. I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all of the life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, This is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you, and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring the clouds over the earth, the rainbow appears in the clouds. I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all the living creatures of every kind on the earth. So God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on the earth. You see, in Genesis 8 through to about the verses that we just read, we see the account of Noah's altar first and then the covenant, the agreement that God has with him. The author continues his close associations, I suppose, with chapter 1, the very beginning of the Bible. And he talks about how the flood kind of re-established the relationship with God and his people. The human race is still fallen, it's still sinful, but through an offering on the altar, they may yet find God's blessing. And it is significant, just as in Genesis 1, the focus of the author's interest is man. It's him that God is interested in. And while the passage could be looked purely at from verse to verse, I have felt a little bit of need to explain what these covenant concepts are. We'll go further than Genesis 9, not just further into Genesis, but into other covenants as well. First, what do we mean by the term covenant? Well, the word covenant comes from the Hebrew word, which is berith. And the verbal root means to fetter or to eat with. Eating a feast was the sign of an agreement or a covenant being made at that time. Basically, a covenant was an agreement between two parties, and in a biblical sense, we see it between a person or a nation and God, or a person or a nation and another person or another nation as well. Compare this, I suppose, to some of the other covenants. We have vassal covenants from the Hittites and things like that, where someone swore that they would be true to their king out of gratitude for favours or for not wiping them out. In the Old Testament, this concept of berith or covenant is identified in three different types of legal relationships. The two-sided covenant between human parties who are both voluntarily accept the terms of the agreement, or in some ways it's termed a friendship or a political alliance. God, however, never enters into a covenant with equality with men. He exercises his grace towards people. Another way is that there's a one-sided agreement imposed by a superior party. And God, the Lord, thus commands a covenant with people. The servant is to obey their master. In the original covenant words, we see that he placed Adam on kind of a probation by sending him out. Humanity's failed, but Christ, we see a completely different level of covenant agreement where he takes and he meets the standards. The third way of looking at it is God's self-imposed obligation for reconciliation. In other words, this is his grace. He does it. He did it in Jesus. He gave us Jesus who met all the requirements, and we're underneath the concept of Jesus doing it. And we might talk a little bit further about that further down the track.